Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment. We have here a very special guest today. She is a model, camgirl, adult entertainer, gamer of all things, if you can believe that, and very good at it too. We're going to get into it all today with Miss Darcy Diamond. Darcy, how are you?
Pretty good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Now, that's a lot of things that some might not expect to go together. So, we're going to try to get into each of them. But right off the bat, I want to ask you first question. What kind of games do you play when you're streaming?
MMORPGs.
MMORPGs. What's your favorite?
So actually, I first started off with Diablo in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. So yeah, I started off with Diablo in 1997. Obviously, it was the shitty number one, and
Yeah.
then number two came out eventually, and then that's when the whole online thing started.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I'm distracted. So yeah, that's when the whole when you started to play online on what was it, the DSL Connect
Yeah, DSL. I remember the
hookup thing.
PlayStation 2s had like that big expansion bay you had to put in the back and you plug up with like the old Ethernet cables.
Yeah, so it was that. So either you had the phone going or you didn't have the phone going
Yeah.
because you took it over with the internet. So it was Diablo, and then I started doing World of Warcraft in
Yeah.
and then also Halo actually back in the day when it first came out as well. So it's
Okay. So you're
been
a Xbox girl?
no, definitely not PlayStation, but because of Halo, I only play that on Xbox,
Oh, okay. Well, that's what
which
I
now I only play that on PC.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering when you said Halo. I remember like I never had an Xbox back in the day, but everybody was talking about Halo, so I knew that kind of was one of the reasons why I finally did pick up one. Now, believe it or not, I'm actually more of an Xbox kind of guy. But let's
Uh,
get to a little of your story here, though. We'll get back to the gaming, but so where did you grow up?
the Northwest Territories in Yellowknife.
Okay, yeah, you said that in
So
the
it's
DM Yellowknife. I'd never heard of that before. What's around there?
it's very secluded, so there's nothing really around there other than a lot of trees and buffalo and caribou and moose.
So when coming up, like, did you kind of have like this, deep seated desire that that you were going to be in kind of this industry? Did you enjoy dancing? Because of all the entertainers I've talked to, there's always been kind of something from the beginning that kind of set them on this path, whether it was just they like to hold a stage or put on a show or whatever it is. What did you have something like that with you?
No, actually. Growing up watching a lot of movies. So when I first saw striptease at such a young age, I was like, I want to do that.
Uh,
And then, around that time, I started playing D2 online. I would sneak onto my dad's computer, and of course, he would accidentally have Suicide Girls open. So I would go on there and creep through all the photos, and I'm like, I'm going to be a Suicide Girl one day, or be on the site. And so I've been doing that since 2016.
wow.
And and then so he also had like this animated porn, like, so, like, there's like Homer Simpson and
Yeah.
Marge, or like just all these cartoons and whatnot. So of course he was away working and we had a sitter, so I'd be on the computer playing Diablo, or realistically I'd exit out the window and just go sneak on the stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna do that one day. So I was probably like 7 years old at that time.
7. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, see, I discovered porn a little early too because my dad, and I've told this story on other shows, but my dad was able to get a hold of those cable boxes that gave you all like the channels that you normally would have to pay for.
Yeah.
We were like $300, but then after that, you didn't have to pay for anything. And so I normally got them. The reason why I really liked them was I would get like the free wrestlings every month because when I was young, I was a big wrestling fan. But at nighttime, you had two pay-per-view channels. One of them showed all like the mainstream movies, but then the other one would show a lot of other stuff like softcore
Yeah.
porn and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of got introduced to it. And I say hone my craft and learned a lot in what I know at a young age because I was able to watch stuff like that. Because this was way before, internet, you couldn't go there. And then obviously when the internet come out, then that just opened a whole new world for people to access it. But before that, it was basically just VHS tapes and those types of softcore porn. So I grew up on watching like Marilyn Chambers and Emmanuel and things like that.
Mine was the late night talk shows with, I think, what was her name? Betty White, the sex talk show.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that. Wow, that's good.
yeah.
That's crazy. And the anime porn's never really been something I've been really super into though. Like I need like real women, real.
I Well, actually, that's probably where it started was like the hentai, like, because then obviously getting older, you just like look at it and it's just, I don't know, it's different, but it was still good.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a market for it because it's always there. I always see it advertised on stuff. So there's definitely a market there. I mean, that whole anime thing's huge by itself anyway. But
Yeah.
so what was kind of like your first introduction to all this? That's really what I like to
My
get to.
first introduction, so I was already working. I was 18 years old, or yeah, I had just turned 18 and I had left an abusive relationship. And he told me that I could never be a model or anything because I've always like said I wanted to be a porn star. I wanted to do this. And I was like, you're too fat, you're ugly. You'll never do this. Like, you'll never be good enough. Nobody will ever want you and stuff like this. So now I'm like, fuck you, I'm going to do it. And then so I moved to Edmonton at some point when things got rough in Saskatchewan because if I would have stayed in Saskatchewan, I would have been like the rest of those people and have gotten nowhere in life,
Right.
sadly. But so I had left and I went to Edmonton. I got a job, obviously, because I was doing construction with my grandfather for home renovations and stuff like that. I got into commercial painting, outside buildings, exterior. Um, and I really enjoyed it. And then we got screwed over. And so then I was just like, fuck this, I need to find something else. So then this one day there was like this modeling casting call type thing. So I showed up and then I ended up with a 3-year contract. And then so I was like, oh, would you look at that? I mean, when I look back at all these photos, even in all my 20s, I still cringe because I hate the way I look. And I'm like, that's so gross.
I think everybody has that though. Like everybody that I've talked to, and even myself, when I see like pictures, especially a long time, I'm like, God, look at either the hair or the fashion or whatever I had going on at the time. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. So I think that's like just something that everybody automatically does. Every now and again, I'll catch a picture where like, hey, I look pretty cool there, but for the most part, I don't like anything that's older.
Yeah. I mean, like, I still looked like a kid up until I swear, till I hit 30 or something.
Yeah.
And then it's just been like, I feel so much better about myself in a sense. But like back then, I'd look like, ew. Even with like adult braces and stuff, I was like, how did I even walk on public with my face looking like that? Like, no care in the world. There's Costco pants with like a different colored shirt and like nothing matched.
It probably made sense at the time. That's what I keep telling myself because, like, it's weird. A lot of the fashion and stuff from back in our, those days are coming back around. And so I'm like, well, obviously it made sense at the time, or I really shouldn't have done it. Either I was drunk or hungover or something. I don't know. But it's weird how a lot of that stuff comes back full circle with the fashion and the music and all that. That's really cool. That lets me know that I'm getting old.
Yeah, that's
Um,
hilarious.
so did
Okay,
the
where did I stem off from?
Oh, we were talking. You got your 3-year contract. That's what I was about to say. You got your 3-year contract in
Yeah.
modeling, and then that kind of just parlay into other things.
So then I was doing that, but like it was never good pay. And then being told that you had to be a certain size and like what you shouldn't be eating and stuff like that. Like that was like 2 years in. And then after that, I was like, fuck this. Like, I'm gonna eat what I want because I love McDonald's. As my boyfriend ordered us McDonald's,
Uh,
and there's evidence here. Um, yeah, I just decided that I was gonna go work in a strip club, and then so I started working in a strip club, and I started serving. And then this first girl that I saw on stage, well, it wasn't my first time in a strip club, but after working, and it was like making sense, not making sense, but like when you go to a female goes to a strip club at first at a stupid young age, so 18 in Alberta, and all you hear is like these horror stories growing up being like they're all horrors and stuff like this. So you walk in with like these expectations of being like, ew, gross, like why am I here?
Yeah.
So like my first experience, I went to Divas back in the day when it was open, and I looked and I'm like, these chicks are actually really beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, the way that an ex had explained it was like, oh, I'm going to the strip club with the boys tonight. Fuck you. Like I'm getting laid, blah, blah. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
So instantly you have this bad picture painted. So then when I went, I'm like looking at these girls and like, this does not look like that's what goes on here.
Yeah.
And then
I'd say the percentage of guys that think that's what's going to happen is very high, and which is what makes that business thrive. But the percentage of that actually happening is very, very, very low. But I think that idea is what drives that whole strip club industry. Guys think that, but then I think there are a portion of guys that just really want to have conversations. A lot of girls that I talked to said they always fancy themselves as a therapist more than an actual stripper, because you're really just listening. So a lot of times people just need to talk or want to get something off their chest.
exactly.
Yeah. So you started out serving?
A beer tub actually.
Okay.
So beer tub, and then I started doing shooters. And then this one day I got a random ad on Facebook, and like those catfish sites
Mhm.
or catfish profiles on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's what I thought this was, because there was a beautiful long blonde hair, blue eyes, Barbie looking girl, and it said Barbie Hollywood. And I'm like, okay, this is fake. Like this chick's like, hey, I have an opportunity, like a career opportunity for you. Do you want to do a bikini burlesque touring group? We're starting one up, and it's the sister group to Canadian Cover Girls, or sorry, Canadian Playboys and Body Heat, which is the male entertainment here that travel. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So, it's like, okay, just give me your address. I'll be over and we'll talk more. And I'm like, great, that's probably gonna be like a 400-pound man. He's gonna put me in a burlap sack and fucking, I'll be on the first 48. And then so I hear a knock at the door, and I'm like, oh God, my life is over. And then I open this door, and if my jaw wasn't attached to my like face, it would have shattered on the ground. Like I looked at this girl, I'm like, holy shit. She's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, you are actually real. Like you're not fake, and you look identical to this picture in the profile. I thought you were going to be literally some weird dude showing up at the door. Like I didn't know what to expect. She's like, no, of course I'm real. And then, she was actually Russian. And so I'm super sweet at the time too. And yeah, so we got talking, and then literally within a week, I was doing my first stripper shoots, I
Mhm.
guess you would say, like photos and whatnot. But there was no nudity because back then I had like these like little B cup, A cups, um, no tattoos at all. Well, other than the one on my wrist. And then we did our first show in 2010, I think it was, or 2000. It's either 2010, 2000, end of 2010, beginning 2011.
Okay.
Um, it's kind of a blur. Um, but yeah, so we started that, and then I was trying to think of a name. Like I kept like I love the name, like I love Dita Von Teese.
Mhm.
So I'm like Dita Von, and I just like keep naming off names after that, and then everybody from the male side of the stripping, because we were just all trying to go over it, like, why don't you just go Darcy Diamond, then you don't have to change your real name. I'm like, yeah, actually that's probably a good idea if I just use my real first name, because if someone tries to call me something else, I'd be like staring off into a distance, just like
Yeah.
dazed off. And then if someone's trying to say a fake name or something, I wouldn't remember. I don't even remember what I talked about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that happening if you go with a completely whole different name. I can see that happening. Like you're not even, I worked in radio for a short period of time, and there was a guy on there, and his name, like I keep forgetting his real name. His real name is Ed Palmer. Uh, I'm sorry, it's Will Nichols. His real name was Will Nichols, but he was on 3 different radio stations. One is Ed Palmer, one is Tom O'Brien, one is like another name, and all of them are like very generic. And I'm just like, how do you even know what the fuck to answer to? Because sometimes I purposely would done it. I just called him every name, like except for his real one, just to see if he would ever pay it attention. But he did, like he answered every single one of them. But I can see where I would just totally forget that somebody was even talking to me if I'm not, right in the zone.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah, no, that wouldn't work out in my favor.
yeah, no, you lose money that way for sure.
And then
Um,
people still don't believe me. They're like, what's your real name, Phil? And I'm like, it's Darcy. And they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is. So like as in that I started getting into the dancing side, like, and I have no dance rhythm or anything, I guess you would say. Like I've never been in dance class. So everything I've done is self-taught. So I'm just like super slow, sensual, like I take my glasses off when I'm on stage so I can't see anybody. So when I go up to a person, I really actually can't see them, but they think I can. And so I'm super personable and like one-on-one in a sense when it comes to the stage shows. Um, and that's like, I don't know, to me, I do it for myself up there because I enjoy it. Like I enjoy every second of it, like the costumes, the music and stuff. I just kind of get on autopilot mode and I'm just like in my own world, I guess you would say.
yeah. Well, you
So
mentioned
I enjoy it.
striptease earlier. Like she done that a lot. Like she come out and like it was that real sexy like suit outfit almost. She had on the fedora and the skirt, and she would just slowly take it off. And I mean, sometimes that's that anticipation of them taking something off one article at a time. If done right, you don't need to dance. That can drive people crazy.
Actually, do you remember when Josie and the Pussycat Dolls first came out, that movie?
Yeah.
So we were in my girlfriend's basement. We were probably 8 years old, 9 years old by then, maybe 10. I don't know. I don't remember. But in that age group. So I think we're 10. And my girlfriend had like this pole in her basement. Obviously, it was a sewer type thing. And then we would just turn on the Josie and the Pussycat Dolls, and then we didn't realize that there was the window was open, and her little brother and friends were watching us. But of course, what we were doing is we were pretending like we were stripping and we were dancing around this pole and like just taking our clothes off, just little kids just fucking around, and then all of a sudden you can hear laughing outside the window, and we were just like, okay, like,
Little kids up there was getting their eyes full there.
yeah.
Ah,
And
so
I actually go back to that same place in like a week and a half or 2 weeks to go strip.
so I mean, like when you're doing that, like you said, you're kind of very one-on-one and stuff like that. Is that kind of like where what really does it for you? That's where you find your passion in doing that? Because I've noticed that certain people have different things. Like some people love to just work the pole. And then some people don't use the pole at all. They're very in tune with the audience, and it's what they know what works for them. They figure it out fairly quickly. And but now traveling, that could be different because audience is different. What do you find is do you still stick with what you do, or do you kind of read the audience?
So I used to do a lot of pole, and then like when I first started, I didn't. I was just always twerking because this lovely woman that taught me back in the day. She's like, even though I am, a bit darker, she's like, I had to be taught how to shake my ass. She's like, I didn't know how to twerk. Like, she's like, everyone thinks we know how to twerk. She's like, no, we have to teach ourselves or we have to get taught by other people. She's like, but I feel like you would actually take the time to learn. I'm like, I'm down. I'm like, I'm so down. And then she taught me back in 2012, and then I just kind of taught myself how to do it. So I always have just been about my butt in a sense, and that's why
Yeah.
we'll talk about why I got it tattooed. But like I bought this back in 2012 as well, back on Xpol Expert. It was like $700 US back then. Like it was expensive,
Wow.
and I've had it ever since, and it has never done me wrong. Um, there's been no pole fails with it at all.
Yeah, that's like, I think
Um,
that's what people were probably more scared of than anything, getting those things and put them in their house. So somebody's not going to put them in right, and they're going
yeah,
to go jump up and go to twirl and wind up like flying across the room and breaking a hip or something. But
right. So realistically, people don't make more money by doing pull tricks. People don't make more money by doing fire. People don't make more money by using like, things on stage. It's the one-on-one interaction
mhm.
for the most part. You can put on a killer show, but if you're not making even like the 2 second like little connection or that they think is a connection, um, you might maybe make $5, $10 on stage in
Yeah,
tips.
no, I've
Where
seen that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've seen girls
so
like
I,
work it and not make nothing.
I broke my wrist snowboarding November 2018, and then I had to go back on stage that night because I thought I sprained it. I didn't go to the hospital until the next day. So after that, like I have a chronic pain in my wrist, especially when winter comes. So therefore, I just walk around with my resting bitch face, my Botox face that I've had since I was 21. Um, and literally, I make more money than I have do when I actually try to do something.
Wow, that kind of so that kind of forced you to change it up a little bit because of your wrist, and then that worked out to be better
Yeah,
for you in a sense. I can see that though. I can see like if and it's all does come down to the entertainer and how they pull it off. And like you said, even something is just eye contact whenever you're doing it, it makes that person just it makes it snap as opposed to some I've seen some girls that just they never make eye contact. Their eyes are either always up at the ceiling or down at
yeah,
the stage. It's like they're afraid of it. And I think that that's a missing piece. There's not going to be that connection that's going to say, hey, I need to, maybe take this and get a private dance or a room
yeah.
or whatever the case may be. So, no, I agree with that
And
100%.
it's also like you need to learn floor work as well. So if you can have the floor work down packed, and then that's how you like can make your way to one person and then, make your way to the next and not look awkward about it, like just
Mhm.
make it seem like it's a good flow and just natural, then that also helps out as well.
Yeah. And are you good at like picking up on the guys that are in there to spend money or the guys that are just in there to watch basically?
No, normally I don't talk, but obviously I'm getting my eyes done in December, and my tongue. So I kind of have to force myself to go talk to people right now because, well, I guess Tuesday, like it's been a slow, like it's obviously slow season in
Right.
some areas. So it's definitely slow season for October, and you know, now it's November. It's getting a little bit better. So I'm like hoping that obviously this upcoming week, which is usually always a good, like Edson's always really good.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, I'm in Grand Prairie, and then after that, I'm back here, and then I fly out to Miami. But I forgot what I was talking about. Sorry, I'm so ADHD that I'm like,
No, that happens way more than you probably realize. I mean, we were just talking about like reading the room and reading like what people,
oh.
if they were going to spend money and how you were able to spot them.
So usually I can't really tell if they have money or not, but there's either people that will go with you or won't. So I don't just really walk up to people. So when I'm working, that's how I advertise myself practically. So if people get posters or magnets and I go sign it, I'll look at them. I'm like, hey, do you want to go for a quickie? And then they're just like, excuse me, what did you just say? I'm like, well, do you want to go in the background? Like the word dance will never leave my mouth.
Yeah.
So then they're just like, okay. So sometimes like, I go with no expectations. I'm like, oh, this person's only gonna go for one dance. But sometimes I'm like, actually, I'll go for like an hour, I'll go for 2 hours. And they're just like, what?
Now, I mean, yeah, I remember the first strip club I went into. I wasn't even 18. We went down there. I had graduated. We went to the Keys, the Florida Keys. And I'd been into one before, but it was not, I don't even know if I would really call that a strip club. It was not on the up and up really. But this one was it was called Rum Runners and it had like 3 stories. And I remember I went up to the top and there was this girl in there and I got a dance. And I think at the time they were like 20 to $20. And then she was like, it's $20 a song. And she's like, you can, pay me now or, pay after it's over. And she's like, you can put your hands anywhere but the cookie jar. And I was like, I kind of shook my head because at that point I had never been in one or never heard that you could touch. So I guess this was just a different thing that they had going down there in Miami. So of course, like fresh out of high school, this was a good, that's where I spent all my graduation money in that club that night. But a lot of other clubs disappointed after that because, I'm assuming now they must all work like this. And everybody's like, whoa, you can't do that. And I'm just like, well, the fucking
No.
Miami were doing it, but Jesus.
So that's the one thing I absolutely hate the most is everybody that's not in Alberta or BC or wherever else where it's no contact, they'll come in and they're going to be like, so I'm from Quebec or I'm from Ontario, or I'm from this place. They're like, what would you do that's better? And I'm just like, I'll put my heel down your throat is what I will do. Either you want to go or you don't want to go. Yes or no. I'm like, and realistically, I don't care. I'm just gonna walk away. No, no, I'll go. I like your attitude. I was like, I don't like yours. So go for a dance with somebody else.
Yeah. No, yeah. When you're trying to like, see what they'll do or how far they'll go, that's something totally different. I think that's what guys do at this point in time here. I was just impressionable because that was really the first one I'd ever been into. So when you go to something and that's what it is, you tend to think all of them work like that. And then as I started going to different ones, I realized like almost every one of them had a different set of rules. Like there was this one to where the girl would dance on the stage and I kept waiting on her to come up to where you would, put in money or whatever, but she never would. She would never come to the stage. And then finally she was like, she looked at she's like, you're just a dick. I was like, what the? I kind of shook my head. I'm like, what? And she's like, you're not even going to tip. And I'm like, you haven't come over here for me to tip you. Like, you see, I've got money in my hand. And she's like, you're not from here, are you? I said, well, I don't live here, but I'm from the area. And she's like, we don't do that here. She said, we don't get close to the staff. She said, you just have to throw it on the stage. And I'm like, yeah, I've never heard of that before at all at any club I've ever been into. Like usually there's
No,
some sort of close contact where you put the money in there at least. But
or like with myself, if I see money in front of people, I'm like, I'm taking that.
yeah.
So then I will literally walk over to them and I don't care if I have like my skirt on or whatever, like whatever outfit I have, but I'll turn my back towards them and I will like bend over and whatever I got on, I'm full spread. And I'm just like, look at it. Just look at it. And then instantly they're like, here you go.
Yeah, just throwing it up there. And see, when you do that now, I want to jump ahead just a minute. You got, well, obviously, we can see you've got a lot of tattoos, and your tattoo work is beautiful. If anybody is not seen or hasn't been following your Instagram page, they need to go do that. I'm a big tattoo guy myself, but you've got one in a very interesting place. I got to talk to you about the reason for that, the pain level for that, which obviously I guess wasn't too much because I heard on another show that you actually went and like had a little performance after you had it done. So let's talk about that tattoo.
We were actually just talking about that. I think that was yesterday about my ass tattooed. And he's like, so how did that work when it got infected? I was like, my ass never got infected. He's like, well, how about when you like, you're taking a shit? And I'm like, no, you just take a poop normally and you wipe and baby wipe and it's fine.
Yeah.
But so beginning of January of 2020, I decided I wanted to start doing porn. Didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was going to figure it out. So I messaged my tattoo artist. I was like, hey, I really hate the way my butt looks. Like, you just put two beautiful pieces on each cheek. I'm like, I need you to fill it in straight to the hole. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I want to start doing porn. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, oh, I'm sure. But I'm not doing it till that's filled in because that's just going to look weird. And and on top of that, when I'm on stage, I'm like, I don't like this bare blank piece in my butt when I'm like, twerking my butt. I'm like, I want something filled in. And then so he messages me back like not even a week later and was like, okay, I got the perfect idea. I was like, okay, what's that? He's like, we're gonna give you a giant ass lotus. So a giant lotus. But now jokingly, we always just say it's a giant ass lotus. And then he's like, okay, before when you do decide to start doing porn, your opening line even if it's off camera, is like, do you want it to flower me? And I'm just like, oh God, that's so cringy. I'm like, but that's so good at the same time. I've
Oh.
never actually used it, like said it, but yeah.
What was the pain level like back there? Because when we say ass, like we're not just talking about ass. Like yours is like to the hole, like it's in there.
So are you talking like 10 being like the most
Yeah,
painful
10
or
being the most. Yeah, yeah.
minus a million?
Minus a million.
Minus a million. We had to tape up my vagina or I would have been a running faucet. I recorded it the whole time. I was live on Suicide Girls. I was live on Instagram. I was also live on OnlyFans.
You were
And so
live while you were getting it done?
I was live the whole 4.5 hours while I was getting it done. So on OnlyFans, because I think you could only go every like, I don't know how long. So I would end it and then quickly restart it.
Yeah.
And then at some point I went back and bought this program where I can like screen record. So I was screen recording and did that for 4.5 hours. And then I had to obviously edit it because, all the wiping and stuff like that. I was like, fuck that. I want it straight through, just like the needle work nonstop. Like I don't want him walking up, getting away, wiping, like, or repositioning. So it took a full day.
Wow. But no
But
pain?
no, it was not painful at all. It was so good. Like when I was laying there and he's like, here, I'm just gonna quickly do a quick line on your butt and we'll see if it's painful for you, we won't do it because once we start, we're not gonna stop.
Right.
And then, he's like, okay, I did the line. I'm like, no, you didn't. And he's just like, yeah, I did. He's like, how do you not feel this? And I'm like, no, I don't feel anything. And he's like, I swear to God. He's like, here, let me go in a different spot. So he goes in a different spot and does it. And he's just like, how do you not feel a pain in this? And I'm like, honestly, I don't feel anything. Like if like nothing. And then like when he was just like going all over, I'm like, it just felt really good.
Really? So you actually got pleasure out of that. It was some pleasurable feeling.
Well, I mean, pleasure is pain. Pain is
Yeah.
pleasure. Yeah.
Pleasure's pain, depending.
So I just like, but it wasn't even painful. Like that was the most shocking thing. And I don't know, I loved every second of it.
Well, see, I think and I've got a lot of tattoos. I just finished up a huge back piece on my back. It took like three-hour sessions, and it's like a tiger skull type thing all flowed together. I'll send you a picture of it so you can see it. But like that was one of the more painful ones, especially on like the sides of the back. But I think that's something that when you're getting the tattoo done, you kind of have a connection with it, with that pain. It makes it worth it. And especially when the piece is done right and, it looks good. And that's kind of how you remember it. But yeah, I couldn't imagine getting one, but I would think that would hurt like hell. But that's crazy that it didn't hurt you at all.
I slept through my whole back piece. Like obviously it was over periods of time because we
Right.
started my back in 2016 and then we finished it obviously in 2020 to the butthole.
Yeah. Well, see,
But
I've
literally,
seen your back piece. It's very nice.
thank you. I slept through most of it. Like this was like this one here when I was 23, just before I turned 24,
Mhm.
was I was shaking. I was shaking and like whimpering. But this one here, it was a different story. I was laughing hysterically.
And
Like there was no pain for this one at
the
all.
back didn't hurt you at all?
No, and I don't take painkillers or anything. So
Oh man. I even like I've never done like any of the inks or shit like that that's supposed to alleviate the pain. I just feel like that's part of the process you need to go through getting the tattoo. Like that's part of the experience. But I even tried some of that and the back still fucking hurt.
so this is where I realized that numbing cream does not work.
Yeah.
So we did my sternum here. We started that in 20, when was that? 20, I don't think it was 2017. I think it was like 2018, the end of 2018, or it was 2019, maybe 2019. But we started doing where we went to go do it. So I was like, I need numbing cream. Like everybody told me that this spot hurts. We did the numbing cream, everything. It didn't even work. That was the worst 7.5 hours of my entire life. He did this one whole line here, and I'm like, hey, no, I'm done. I'm done. This is the first time I'm gonna tap out. He's like, nope, we've already started. So you're gonna sit here and we're gonna do it. You wanted this. You've never like pussied out of anything before. You're sticking through it. Otherwise, you're gonna regret this.
Was
And
this
I'm like,
after the ass?
No, this was before.
Okay. All right. All right. I
And
was
then
about
so I was like, okay. And now after that, I'm like, anything else compared to that, I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad. But like I said, I'm scared for December because I have no idea how my boyfriend says the eyes doesn't hurt because he has his done. Um,
Now, what are you getting done to the eyes?
I'm blacking out the whites of my eyes.
That's possible. I didn't even know that was a
Here,
thing.
can I bring Matt in here for a second?
Yeah. Yeah. Bring
Come
him
here.
in.
Can you come here, please?
I want to see this. I've never fucking seen this before.
Yeah, he wants to see your eyes. He's like, oh my God. I go live on Twitch and stuff all the time.
Yeah. Holy shit. Damn. Like, so how bad did that hurt?
You don't feel it. It's really easy. It's just stressful.
Holy shit. It looks cool as fuck. I never knew that was a thing. I never knew that was even possible to do. I would thought you were fucking like an extra in a horror movie or something if I seen that with those eyes like that.
That'd be sweet, actually.
Yes.
You
Damn.
look like you have no neck. Like it looks like your neck's cut off.
Well, for a minute I was like, has he got something around it? But when he lifted it back, I seen it was a tattoo. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. So how long does that take, that process with the eyes?
Like, I don't know, 10 minutes per eye, roughly.
Really? And what kind of like aftercare is involved with that? Because obviously you can't rub fucking the normal shit in there.
I just use those pink eye drops.
Yeah.
That was it. Just because your eyes are dry for about 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it. Easiest tattoo.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. That sounds a bit easy. Wow. Yeah, we'll have to get an updated picture when you get yours done, and we'll put it up on the Crime and Entertainment page. Thank you for doing
I'm
that.
so excited.
So what are you getting done on your tongue?
I'm getting a deep tongue split. So back when I was a kid, I was so tongue-tied that I literally could only stick out my tongue like this. Like my tongue was connected to the bottom of my thing here.
Yeah.
So I was in speech therapy as a toddler till middle school,
Wow.
maybe. Because people are like, oh, you can't tell you were tongue-tied. Like you're very particular with your words and stuff like that. Like you actually know how to speak. And I'm like, oh, thanks. It's because I was made fun of at school that I actually had to go get like, speech therapy done.
Fucking assholes they
But
are.
like,
Kids. Okay.
like there's still a lot there.
Yeah.
But it was like connected to the tip. But I'm getting him to do a deep tongue split because I was like, this isn't going to be a thing anymore. Screw that piece.
So the first person I seen with that was Kennedy Rose, and we just had her on the show last week, and I seen it, and I was just like, wow, I can see where as a guy you would get a lot of pleasure out of that. Is that the same for girls?
I wouldn't know. So for me, the reason why I want my eyes blacked out, the reason why I want my tongue split. So for the tongue split was obviously the Guinness World Record. There was the Lizard Man when I was a kid.
Yes.
And I've been obsessed with the split tongue ever since then. And like, I pierced my tongue. I always thought about putting floss through it. So like, how people said that you can like tie like plastic or whatever string, and then it will like give you one naturally. And then I'm like, I don't have the patience for that. And I want it done properly on top of that.
Right.
So I've just always wanted it. I'm obsessed with snakes. And they're just so beautiful and their tongues are so perfect.
Oh yeah.
And then with my eyes growing up, like with movie magic, obviously with the demonic side of things, like the movies of like the vampires or like, just supernatural paranormal things, I've always loved blacked out eyes. So when I have the contacts in, I never want to take them out.
Yeah, no, that's gonna look very cool when you get that.
Thank you.
I can already tell that's gonna look very cool. So were you like a big horror movie fan coming up?
Yes. Literally, I was 2 years old watching Pet Cemetery, and
That is, I swear to you, like I'm a huge horror movie fan, and Pet Cemetery. It's just funny that you brought that up. That's like my all-time scariest fucking movie, still to this day, almost.
yeah,
It
it's my
creeped me out.
favorite, and I still cry on all the exact same spots till this day. And when I do start this sleeve, it's going to be a full Stephen King leg sleeve for my
Oh, wow.
son because he's equally obsessed with Stephen King movies. So you know how The Shining, the sequel, the prequel, what's the one afterwards? Is it the sequel?
See, the sequel would be afterwards. Prequel would be before.
So Doctor Sleep, the one
Yeah.
day my son's like, "Can we go see Doctor Sleep?" And I'm like, "Wait, you want to go see it in theaters?" He's like, "It just came out. Let's go." And he's like 4. And I'm like, "No way you want to go see it." He's like, "I want to go." And then like literally till this day, he fucking loves that movie.
I don't know if I did ever watch Doctor Sleep. I remember it was supposed to be like the sequel to The Shining, but I don't know if I ever did watch it.
I highly recommend it. It is so good. And then he's so obsessed with it. So when it came out in theaters, he was so upset with me because I went without him. And then as soon as he was like, "So how come I was at the sitters?" I was like, "Oh, I went to go see it." And he bawled his eyes out. He's like, "You went without me." And then he was so upset. I was like, "Fine, I'll buy tickets. I'm sorry. I didn't think you actually wanted to go." And he's like, "I do. And I want the D box seats that move." And I'm like, "Okay." So I bought the tickets, didn't realize that I purchased it for the city that was like an hour and a half away
Oh shit.
because it was no longer in Red Deer. So I was like, "Okay, well, looks like we're going to Edmonton, kiddo." And he's like, we're we're not going to the movies. I was like, "No, I purchased the movie, actually accidentally purchased the tickets in a different city. So we're going to Edmonton." He's like, "Yes." So I was like, "We have to leave now if we want to make the movie." But
That's,
after that, he just like he'll look up on YouTube and just rewatch it the whole time. Like
mm.
all like the little scenes of Georgie and Pennywise talking, and then he'll just like mimic it. And yeah, he's
No,
fun. He's mine.
that's cool that you let him watch stuff. My son watched horror movies at a young age. He actually pushed me to take him to see the most recent Terrifier that was in the theaters that
I
everybody
want to
loves.
see it so bad. Like, I'm friends with this person that actually dresses up professionally, and he knows those people. He's on TikTok. It's like paintings by darkness or something like
Okay.
that, and like it's so sick. Like the way he also dresses up. I can't. I'm brain farting right now, but like literally so sick watching his like little live streams. Like they're not little to me; they're huge because
Right.
I love stuff like that, like Silence of the Lambs.
Oh yeah. And
Oh,
one
he
thing
dresses up
too.
as Buffalo Bill and will dance around.
Oh yeah, yeah, Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. Did you know in Pet Cemetery the sister Zelda, the one that they would do the flashbacks in, did you know that was a guy?
Really?
Yes, a guy played that part. There's this documentary that you need to watch if you like Pet Cemetery. It's called Unearthed and Untold. I think it's on Amazon Prime, I think, but I know it's out there because I've seen it.
We're
Unearthed,
definitely gonna have to watch that.
Unearthed and Untold, and it tells a lot about like why he picked certain areas, why he done certain things. But yeah, the actor that played Zelda was actually a man in like makeup, a shitload of makeup, but like her and then the fuck Pascal or whatever his name is, those like
Pascal?
yeah, Pascal. I used to try to go to sleep in the fucking daylight so I didn't have to think like they were going to be standing at my door or something when I went to sleep.
I've been so obsessed with that movie since I was a kid. And like I still am. I held off watching the new one, and honestly, I hate the new one. They completely switched it up.
Yeah,
Like,
it wasn't good. No.
no, it was
The only
horrible.
piece I liked in there, I did like John Lithgow playing Judge because I like him as an actor. I thought when he was in Dexter, he was real good, and
You
he's
don't want to go down that road.
yeah, don't go down that road. Yeah, but I mean, it's hard. There's some movies you just shouldn't fuck with, and you because you're gonna mess it up. And Pet Cemetery was one of them. And I've noticed that's a big connection. Anytime I talk to anybody that's in this industry, they all love horror movies. That's just like a
Yeah.
it's
Well, we're all fucked up. We all have deep, dark things that have happened, like the stuff that has like deep seated.
yeah,
And the only way that we can really enjoy, like, the real world is literally horror movies because there's so much trauma that
yeah.
nowadays we're just so sick and twisted that that's our first response is like laughing about whatever it is. Like when Hostel first came out, I am obsessed with that movie till this day. So Hostel 1, 2, and 3, like human torture. Oh my God. Like I'm like, I could hear him. I don't know if he's like playing with other people online or if he's actually talking about the movie. I don't think he's talking about the movie.
Oh yeah, Hostels were good, man. They were really good. And then they had another one that was similar to that, Touristas or something like that. I think Josh Duhamel was
Tourist,
in that. Yeah,
yeah. A
Touristas or
touristy
Tourist
movie
or
on
something.
the island.
Yeah, yeah, it was real similar to that. And those kind of things to me, I think they hit home more than a supernatural type person or something like something that you know is not real, because all that stuff I think is very
I'm
much real and very much probably happens at
I'm very like I'm about like very spiritual things. So like even supernatural paranormal things I strongly believe in because of my experiences.
Mhm.
And and then I kind of just opened myself up in that sense because I went in for like the Reiki training, 1 and 2, and I'm actually just talking to her now finally after all these years that I'm ready to go in for my master's because I didn't want to open myself up fully to it, but now I'm finally ready.
Yeah, shit, that's
But like I've had like intense Ouija board experiences and stuff. I've never had the bad experiences, but the people that I'm there with that don't know how to respect it,
wow.
they they get the scary side of the things. Like
Well,
I've
see,
seen
that's
fucking
crazy because I've had a bad Ouija board experience. When I was young, me and some friends were playing with this, and I kept thinking one of them were moving, and I'm sure they probably thought I was moving it. But long story short, we were at a friend of mine's house, and it was basically telling us that he had gotten killed and he was buried in the field behind my house in the corner where there was like this old, like tin looking roof thing over there. And it said it was near that. We pieced it together that that was where he was supposed to be. So, of course, we left that house that next morning. We go back to my house. We grab shovels. We start heading back there. We're like, all right, we're going to see what's up. And we're kind of working our way to get to where near that house was. And I looked down and I seen the biggest fucking snake I'd ever seen in my life, and it was the brightest orange I'd ever seen in my life. Like I can't even. It's like Clemson Tiger Orange. If you watch football, maybe is like the best way I can describe it. But I mean, like I caught the ass end of it, and my eyes are following it, trying to get to the front, and it's just like, damn, how long is this thing? And then it's like he's like deadlocked. He's on the ground. I'm standing up, but it's like he's deadlocked looking at me, and his head is just going back and forth, and I see the tongue coming out, and I'm just like, I've never seen a fucking snake this big. I've never seen a snake this color. But I've always been fascinated by him. So like immediately, I jump back, I haul ass back over to the house, which is only like a 30 seconds from where we're at. I tell
yeah.
my dad, I'm like, hey, there's a big ass snake over there. So of course he grabs his gun and he comes over. Nothing. Nowhere. Can't find it, can't see it, can't hear it. And I'm just like, this son of, there's no way you're not going to hear this thing moving. This fucking thing was huge. And it was just like he was gone. And so I think to a period of time, I think that was like a version of like the devil or something there that I seen. I don't think it was an actual snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a
Like it
true
was
story. I've
just
never
like
told.
an entity in some way, but like in a form, like where
Yeah.
you could see it.
A form of a serpent. I mean, my other buddy's seen it too, so I know I wasn't crazy, but it was just it was everything about it was just very surreal. The color of it was just I've still to this day I've never seen anything that was that orange like in my life.
Like Bengals orange, like
No, not quite that dark. I would say a little light, like almost closer to the orange, and I guess maybe the Miami Dolphins might be a little bit closer to the orange I'm talking about, maybe.
I don't think I know who the Miami Dolphins are.
Okay. What about you ever heard Clemson Tigers?
No.
Okay, that's our local college football team here. It's
Okay.
just
Yeah, see, for the States, I'm a huge Bengals fan.
okay. What?
Even
Okay,
though,
so
they're not that
it's
good.
a lot lighter than the Bengals. It's not as dark as the Bengals orange.
Okay, so just a bit lighter.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just I don't know. It was a real weird experience, and I've never really messed with them since then, a Ouija board or anything since then. But I totally believe in them for sure, and I respect them, and I won't fuck with them anymore. Since after that experience.
My last experience was like the greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I'm sitting there and everything, and like, it wasn't working out. And then so we lit a candle and moved it away. And then so at that time it was with my ex or whatever. in 2017. And he's like, okay, if you're in the room with us, blow up the candle. And I looked at him, I was like, you're a fucking idiot. Don't tell it what to do. Like, so then all of a sudden, like, you know, it's moving over to the yes, like slowly. And then it like slowly turned to the candle. And then I like, because I saw in the corner of my eye this figure, like this clouded dark figure standing there. And I'm like, oh no. So I'm just like, fuck, don't say anything because obviously he's so closed off, he can't see shit. And then all of a sudden, the candle starts to go out, slowly fading, like the flame just starts fading out. And then the wick is so red. So as the candle fades out, it was like this feeling. And then I'm like, and then it was just so hot and heavy. And then he screams and he's like, I got fucking burnt. I'm burnt. And he looks at his leg and he has like a red burn mark on his leg. And I'm like, and just like the size of the wick. And I like look at him and then he fucking tosses the board. Fuck this, I'm not playing with this. And I was like, you're an idiot. Pick this up right now. You need to fucking apologize. You need to do everything you can right now. I'm like, it's in your best interest. I knew I didn't do anything wrong and I could still see this fucking whatever it was in the corner just standing there. And it was just like this misty, like foggy haze in a way, just standing in my doorway.
Oh shit.
And I'm like looking and I'm like just standing there looking. Like you can't see a face or anything, but you can see a figure. And I'm like, fucking. I'm like, I better not get any bad repercussions from this because I didn't do shit. And then so, anyways, we're just like, you know, put it all back together, apologize, played around with it for like 10 more minutes, and then you know said our goodbyes and whatnot. But then fast forward to 2019, we go to fucking, you know, I brought sage and everything to do this board to like, you know, cleanse it in a way because there's been a bad experience in the townhouse, which was not even the same place we used it in when I had purchased it. I bought it at Toys R Us as a joke, wrapped it up, brought it over to his place. I was like, here you go. Like, I bought you a little gift. And he's like, it's wrapped up, so you can't tell what this thing is. And he's just like, why the fuck would you buy this for me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's wrapped up. He's like, this is a Ouija board. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you have no idea what this is. I literally just bought you a gift and you're trying to tell me you know what it is. He's like, I can feel it. I'm like, open it. You wrecked your surprise. So then he opens it and then he tells me the story about what happened when he was a kid and they burnt the board. And he's like, these things fucking come back to you all the time. He's like, what the hell? Like, why would you do this? I'm like, I didn't know.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, like I'm like, here, let's go do it at my place. And then so like I just moved into my place and then that all happened. And then so, you know, I put it away. I had it up high on the shelf. My son was only 2 then when I brought him back home because he was I just had my boobs done. So then my mom was looking after him while my boobs were healing and whatnot, and while I was getting the place settled. So then once I finally brought him home, I had the plastic piece separate, like this piece here. I can't pronounce it properly because my speech for that is always so fucked up.
Yeah.
So this was on top of the shelf in one area, wrapped in a rag inside of a Ziploc, and then I had the board and everything hidden under a bench that he can't move. And then not even a few days of being home, like having him home, he had that board pulled out. Like he found it. And you couldn't see it because if you look at the bench, you couldn't tell there was anything underneath. Well, he somehow maneuvered this bench, had the board out, and then the way I caught it, like the way I knew what he was doing, he was climbing the shelving unit. There's 3 shelves in this cupboard to grab a plastic piece. So he grabbed it and started opening it. And I was like, no fucking way. Like, how does this child know? So I grabbed that out of his hand. And I was like, we're bringing this board to your place. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I had gifted this to you and it's sitting here. I'm like, Alex literally found it. And then he found the piece that was not even near it.
Yeah. And put it together.
He was going to use the 2. And he's 7 now. And he's so awakened to everything. And like when he sees things, he'll tell me. He's like, hey, mom, I just saw this. Like, I'm scared. I'm like, well, what's wrong? sometimes he'll see things like in his room, and like he's like, there's a man in my closet, and obviously I do have some stuff of like, my grandfather's things in there. So I'm like, okay, we're just gonna close that. He's like, so what is it? I was like, it's probably just grandpa. I'm gonna take some things out of your closet that I thought was just gonna be safe keeping here, but clearly that's not working out as planned. Like I have an urn and everything. I have my grandpa, I have my great grandpa, I have my great grandma. Like it's all right here at the front door here with like, dream catchers and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's to me, that's almost a scarier when the kids see it and you don't. Because I mean, like, the first part of me wants to be like, the fuck you talking about? I don't see nothing. And then, when I think about it, I'm like, oh boy, maybe there is something here. Because I think kids have the ability to see.
Yeah, because they're, especially if, around, I don't like the fact that with my grandparents, we got closed off by it because we're so all over the place. So, it's like, oh, you didn't actually see that. No, that's all in your head. And then with my mom, she'd be like, no, tell me more.
Yeah.
You did see what you see, but tell me more so I can help you, like, know what's going on.
Yeah. Deal with it.
Because she's like awakened.
Yeah.
So, just growing up that way, like she's always been so spiritual and stuff like that, which explains the triple goddess on my forehead. Um, so anyways, and of course, obviously the Sphinx cat and everything. I don't have cats, I'm allergic, so
I was
got
wondering
my
if that cat was like a resemblance to church or something on the side of it over there.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
When I seen that on your arm, I'm like, okay, I seen the Ouija board and I'm just like, I wonder if that cat's church from Pet Cemetery.
No, it's not. It was just I wanted a Sphinx on me so bad because I've always wanted one, but I don't have the time or energy to have a pet
No,
ever.
I got you. I get that 100%.
I,
Well, I'm scared of shit now. We got to get back to the porn real quick before we close this out.
yeah, well, yeah, let's go back to the other side.
I
Let's go back to the
go
lighthearted
back,
things.
go back to the good side. You told a funny story on a show that I was listening to about at one time you decided you wanted to buy a fuck machine. And
Okay.
I bought a lot of stuff, not a fuck machine, but I bought a lot of stuff off this app myself, Wish. And
Wish.
they never come like you think it's going to come. So I've got to ask, or if you're pulling it out, we're going to see what is that there?
I bought this off Wish.
Oh, okay. That's the Silence of the Lambs thing. I like that.
I have these everywhere.
So how did this fuck machine function coming from Wish? That's my number one question for you.
So a girl told me, she's like, I make good money on OnlyFans with this. And I'm like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, you should get a fuck machine. Oh, okay, there we go. It's working. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, how does it work? And she's like, well, I'm like, is it like $1,200? Because that's what they normally cost, right? And she's like, no, this one I only paid like $100 and some for. And I'm like, what? So I bought it. I mean, like you have to hold it down and stuff with your feet when you're using it, but it worked. And I was actually shocked that it actually worked.
I was kind of curious of how.
Which reminds me, the base is actually. Pardon?
Oh, I was just saying, I was kind of curious how a fuck machine from Wish would actually function, because anything that I bought that is actually supposed to have any sort of functionality never really worked properly.
Yeah. So it actually worked really well because I've used it in quite a few videos, and then I use it camming when people actually purchase it. I'll use it for like 5 minutes or whatever, and then I'll just shut it off. I'm like, okay, time's up.
Is that some of the videos that you had off the links from your Instagram? Because I've seen some where you were using a machine like that.
Yeah, that's the Wish machine.
That's the Wish fuck machine, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, I'm not going to put that link in the show notes.
Actually, okay, so yeah, remember how I was talking about how I was doing Canadian cover girls?
Yeah.
So then I started going to school, and then my girlfriend and I had moved in together. And this is before she wasn't paying her half the rent, and then we got evicted, and then I was able to get my own place in that same building, and I lived there for like a few years. But I started going to school for administrative medical computer, so I could work in a hospital. And I was actually so close to being done that I almost got my diploma, degree, or whatever you want to call it. But my stubborn ass started stripping. And so then I was just like, you know what? I quit. And she's like, that's done with you. Like I was like, she's like, you're like literally like, so many exams away from passing. And I was like, I don't care. She's like, you're gonna regret this. I'm like, probably, but I don't care.
And
Being
you went
young
to
and
wearing
dumb.
a different kind of nurse's outfit.
Right. And then so shortly after that, I was like, fuck, well, I guess there's no more student loans. So then I was just like, I need to figure out a way to make money. And then so I was just like, Googling how to make money online, and it said adult webcamming. So I went out and bought like this. I had to go to the sex shop and I was so uncomfortable and bought like this weird looking dildo. And then I didn't buy one actually until I was like 28, 29 is when I went and actually started buying them.
Yeah.
And then I have like a whole collection now.
Now you got a whole closet full.
Yeah, a whole closet full of things that don't even get used.
So go ahead.
I was gonna say, my boyfriend looked at it and was just like, so it's kind of scare me.
Oh boy. So let me ask you this. What is on the no list? Like, do you have a no? I'm not doing that. Not
My
going.
no list.
Yeah, the no list.
So before I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do anal. I don't think I'm gonna do this. But my first scene, my first professional scene I shot October 2020, Samantha Mack calls me and was like, hey, VR Bangers wants you to shoot a scene for like, Halloween-ish, but not like the ghetto Halloween. It's just like a witch type, therapist type sex thing or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. I'm like, yeah, so it's just gonna be normal, this, that, blah, blah. And like, told me the pay, and I was like, okay, cool. This is my first time, whatever. And then, a couple days pass, she calls back. She's like, so they want anal now. And I'm like, okay, I can pretend. I can pretend that I like it. She's like, you can't pretend. Either you can like it or you don't. I'm like, I will. I'll force myself to like it. So then she's like, okay, get a hold of Anna. And so, I got a hold of the director that was going to be shooting the VR porn for VR Bangers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, hey, like Samantha told me to contact you to like, prep for this now anal scene. And she's just like, go see where you can pick up silicone butt plugs, not metal, because then, you can go start from small and then go to the largest one there is, sleep with them in. And like, and then I'll tell you about how to cleanse it and stuff, like, with the solution and everything. I was like, okay, well, what do I need? She's like, we need to like douche your ass. So I went out and bought a bunch of like, douches, thinking, she's like, oh, wait, can you pick me up some too? Thinking I knew what she was talking about, what I needed. No, I grabbed this. I don't know where it is here, but it's like an actual like fucking thing. It looks like a I don't know, this thing full of air that you push, and they're like a stick that you put in your butt and you squirt water and whatnot. Anyways, so I come with 6 of these. I'm like, oh, these things, and they were expensive. And she's like, that's not what I was talking about. And I'm like, oh, like I called. I'm like, hey, like, am I allowed to return this? She's like, absolutely not. And I'm like, sweet. So I'm stuck with these anal douches, and yeah, I still have them till this day.
So the scene went off well, then I'm guessing.
I didn't even use it.
Oh, you didn't even use it.
No, they're so hard. So she's like, go to Shoppers and you pick up a thing called Fleet. So it's like this little pre-made saline or solution bottle that you fucking stick in there, and yeah. Anyways, so I learned the proper way of everything, and honestly, it was the greatest experience I've had.
Really?
And that was the only anal scene that I've done.
Wow. Now, so, I mean, if you did have a great experience, is it just something that just hasn't come up in negotiations to do again, or you just kind of?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't definitely do it for that price because I thought I was going to get paid more.
Right. Well, money's always a factor with anything. So
Yeah, well, it stayed the same price from what it was supposed to be normal, and then I had to go back, and then it just ended up me being paid like $200 after paying everything.
oh wow.
It
Yeah.
was because I had to drive there and back and whatnot, and so it was a good experience, but it was also like an eye opener, being like, okay, I know my worth now, and
Yeah.
I'm not fucking going for pennies, if you know what I mean.
No, absolutely.
Like that's that's my brand. That's my brand. So I'm not gonna let it go for nothing.
Well,
Um,
especially yours, because like it's branded, so your butt is worth more than than average butt. Your butt's known by the tattoos and everything, so you can market that well.
the lotus, the giant ass lotus.
Yes, the giant
Um,
ass lotus. You can market that well.
and then I've also never been a foot person. I've hated feet. And then I shot my first professional VR porn solo foot fetish. And that was for loveherfeet.com. And that was quite an experience because I legit had to sit in this little box for I think it was like 30 minutes straight. And the guy was on FaceTime with me when I show up, and Anna shot this one too. And he's like, okay, so are you into feet? I'm like, absolutely not, but I might be after today. And then let's just say ever since then, like when I was even camming on Streamate before they banned me off there,
The bastards.
because I made high fraudulent earnings, and it was because I had foot fetish clients come in and I would only stream for like an hour a day. And then for my 35% cut for that hour, I would have $700 US. Like I would
Oh,
average $700 US. So only imagine how much that freaking site just made off me from one customer. And like every time so after that, I'm like, okay, I need a break because I'm like contorting and like, having my foot in my mouth and spitting on it and everything, like practically deep throating my own foot because that's what they wanted. And I'm like, you guys just got to keep tipping.
wow. I've never been like the foot fetish guy though. I mean,
Neither did I, but now I love it. Like, there's spit play and everything. Like spit play, come play like
spit play, come play.
yeah.
I mean, listen, there's so many things out there for people nowadays. I can't. I definitely will not knock what anyone uses to, enjoy thirself for sure. I mean, obviously, some things are not for everybody. Feet is just one of those things that's just never really been my thing either. I mean, even on a woman, but I know that there is a huge market for that. I mean, there is like feet finder websites out there, like Adult Friend Finder used to be.
I need to find a foot fetish place that I can post all the feet stuff. Like
Yeah.
I was on panty.com, but that was kind of slow ish.
Well, so one of the cool things when I was looking at your Instagram and I hit the link to like go and you have all your links to your merch and podcast and stuff like that you've guested on. I think the cool thing about now, like with technology, you guys can take, the content you want and you can sell that whole video. Does all that money go to you? You don't have to share that with anybody? No.
No.
Oh wow, that's
The site has their cuts for everything. So like a video that I have for like $18, I maybe get like $11, $12.
wow.
And
Everybody's gonna
then
get their
like
cut, I guess.
OnlyFans takes 20% of everything. So to me, like I post everything up on my monthly subscription one. I
Mhm.
post all the full videos and everything up there for people to rewatch everything because I don't care.
Mhm.
So, it's a low price so they can just rewatch, and then I'll just post whatever I have out up there. And then at my free one, I'll post up obviously for if you pay, you get to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I forgot where I was going with this. Oh
Probably.
yeah, so they take 20%. So to me, that's not my baby.
Yeah.
Mine's stage. I
Stay.
need to get back into camming so I can just relax at home because I'm gonna have like 3 weeks off after I get my eyes done and my tongue. So obviously the first week I'm not gonna do anything because I'll probably be talking like this.
Now, when you do the gaming really quick, we'll wrap this up here because I don't want to hold you too long. When you do the gaming, like is the gaming strictly for gaming? I mean, like do these people know like who you are and what you do, and that's just another avenue they use to follow you, or how does that work?
So when I first started on Twitch, back in 2010 when I started webcamming, I was on Twitch looking at things and I was like, look at these idiots, like thinking they can make money playing video games. I honestly wish that I wasn't so dumb back then. Like, I wish I could go back and smack myself and be like, yo, start playing video games like you want to do, rather than webcamming and fucking yourself and, getting bored of yourself. I wish I would have stuck with it because it would be totally different right now. I mean, like,
Oh, yeah.
I am obsessed with video games. And obviously, after we're done, he's gaming out right now, and then I'm gonna jump on my computer and start gaming out. But yeah. So I started December 2020, and one of my really good gamer guys friends that live in the States, this is my first person coming in, and it was just like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, good. I'm kind of new here, sorry if I'm kind of awkward, like, I have social anxiety. I'm not a people person, like in public, like I don't like being outdoors. I like being home and whatever. So it's like, okay, cool, like, is this your first time, like, streaming online? I'm like, well, no, just game streaming, like I just made this account. And then so the online community is really amazing in that sense. So like, Diablo, World of Warcraft, I have like a whole support, not whole support group, but a whole group that people that I consider close friends now that I game out
Right.
with all the time on different things. So like you got Halo and stuff like that. And Dead by Daylight too.
Yeah.
And so I was on there gaming out, and then this person, like every time, it doesn't happen anymore really, but for the past couple of years, so 2020, 2021, people are always like, oh, like, how did your transition go? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, well, because you used to be a dude, right? And I'm like, what? Like, this happened all the time. So Brandon would just be like, hey, like, if you give me moderator, I can, like, mute these people for you or ban them or whatever. And then people are like, oh, like, what kind of drugs are you using? You look like you're on heavy drugs. I was like, dude, I don't even do anything. Like, I haven't even drank since, what was it, September of 2020? Like,
Oh shit.
yeah, like I'm straight edge. So I'm like, I'm allergic to weed. Like, mushrooms aren't really my cup of tea. Like,
Allergic to weed.
so grass and like, so if I go outside, grass, trees, flowers, I'm fucking dying.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, like dust, cats.
You ever take like edibles or anything like that? Gummies?
I tried, and then I ended up taking too much. And then when I was watching Step Brothers, I thought there was somebody in the basement that was trying to break in to kill me.
So what did
Like,
you take it and think it wasn't working and then took another one? Is that what happened?
so I took it with one movie. I can't remember what movie was on. I took a 25, whatever. After the movie was done, nothing. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this 51. And then so I took a 51, so that's 75. And then, started watching halfway through this movie. I'm like, I don't like this movie. I'm like, you know what? This one hasn't kicked in. So I took another 25. And then I turned on Step Brothers. And then instantly my anxiety kicked in. And all of a sudden I can hear things downstairs. And I'm like, and then after that, I was like, I'm never touching an edible ever again.
Yeah, that's what happened to me the first time. I'd never taken one before because for a long time I worked for this company and they would like drug test often and it was random and I didn't, well, when I left them, I was free to be able to, try some of that stuff. And I took the one and I waited about an hour and I'm just like, I broke whatever they give me in half. I think it was like a 50. And so I was like, well,
Yeah.
no, it didn't do anything. So then I took the other half and it was almost like instantly, as soon as I took that half, the other half kicked in. And I mean, it was a fucking hell of a trip for sure. But I mean, I was like, God, I wish these things would have been out a long time ago. Cause things like that, I think would have probably overtaken weed eventually. Cause they're everywhere now. I mean, everywhere you look, it's
Yeah.
CBD this and gummy this and THC this. And I mean, it's a whole big thing that I wish I would have gotten into investment wise a little bit earlier than I did. I mean, I've got a few, but it's nothing major. We had Tommy Chong on the show and he's got his own line of CBD products. And obviously if you're going to buy anything weed related, I'd buy it from Tommy Chong before I do anything.
Yeah. I like the tea with the CBD in it. Actually, we went because he wanted to go get a vape. So I was just like, oh, let's go see if they have the tea here, because my old place, because I just moved to Edmonton like last month, and there was like this like weed shop in front of my place. So I had walked in the one day and I saw this tea because I have a hard time sleeping. Like I could stay up till 6 o'clock in the morning because I can't sleep. Just because like my mind goes a million miles per hour, and I'm just like, okay, well, what should I do? So then there's like this tea that it comes in like a pack of 3. So I'd be gaming out with some of my buddies online. I'm like, okay, you guys, so this is Russian roulette right now. I started my stream, and well, whenever it's time for me to pass out, I'm either getting off or I'm gonna fall asleep on stream. And then I always end up making it off, but I'm like, okay, you guys, I gotta go to bed. Like I can't keep my eyes open any longer. Like the screen's like getting blurry.
Wow. Well, tell everybody where they can go to track you down, to follow you on all this. If you're, you want to go to OnlyFans, check out your gaming, check out all your content you got online. You got a lot of stuff on there. I was looking over it last night. Tell everybody where they can go to find you.
So Instagram is darcydiamond.official. It's my 3rd account.
I seen you're on a couple accounts. Why did they kick you off? Or you just?
It's because I've obviously have been in the adult industry since I was like 18 years old. So I don't know if it's the algorithm or whatnot, but I'm instantly always flagged, and they try to always ban me for adult solicitation, even though it's not what I'm doing online. Like I could just post a picture probably up like this and I'll get flagged.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to like review it or something, and I'm like, oh, there's nothing wrong with this photo, we'll repost it for you. On Twitter, it's Darcy Diamond 90. It's my 2nd account because my 1st one I deleted for some reason. Quite some time ago. I think I deleted in like 2017. No, 2017. And that one was a good Twitter, really good Twitter.
Twitter is the place to go for some of that stuff.
Actually, I think the thing that bothered me on that one was, what really got to me was some kid messaged me on my Twitter and was like, stay away from my dad. And I'm like, excuse me, like your dad probably came into a strip club and you saw my promo. That bothered me, and I straight up deleted it. I was so mad. And I'm like, wait, why did I let this little brat do this to me? Because that had a high following on it. I mean, like a really high following, because I had that account since I was 18.
Wow, that's crazy.
And so I deleted
probably trying to call.
I deleted it at 27.
Jesus.
And so I restarted this account. I think I have now in like 2019 or something like that. So I'm like, I don't really put a lot of effort into like trying to get a following back.
Right.
It's just like whoever follows.
And you're on Facebook too, right?
Yeah. So Facebook, it's just like, it's either Miss Darcy Diamond or Darcy Diamond.
I think it's Miss. I seen it last night. It's Miss.
So yeah, Miss Darcy Diamond. My Twitch is Miss Darcy Diamond. My Trovo is Miss Darcy Diamond, and it's all one word together. It's just MISSDARCYDIAMOND. And then like, Cam Soda is just Darcy Diamond. Pornhub is just Darcy Diamond. It used to be Miss Darcy Diamond. Suicide Girls, Darcy Diamond.
Yep.
Go show.
I seen the Suicide Girl stuff you had up there yesterday. So a lot of content, you guys. If you go follow her on Instagram now, a lot of content. Follow her on all those. We'll put up her Instagram handle in the show notes to this show. We'll also throw up the Twitch handle as well, because we shouldn't get booted off for that one. Some of the other ones might be a little risque, but if you want them, they are all on her Instagram. Is that a link tree you have on there or something along those lines?
So my Instagram is actually, that's my website. I created myself.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So I always did it because I have it on everything and I don't ever want to get in trouble for it. So that's why it doesn't show anything on that page. Like it's everything. If you go click the pictures though, it's like a Kinder surprise. You never know what you're going to get, but at some point you're going to find all of it. The only one that you can't click on is the one of me and my son. But every other picture you click on will take you to a different site.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on the show. I've had a really fun time kicking it with you.
Thank you. Me too.
Well, I will let you know when this goes out, and we'll sure tag you and everything that we're on. We'll tag you in as well. We hope that you will share it with your fans. We hope we can send a few subscribers your way, and later on down the future, we'd love to have you back on as a second guest.
I'm so down because there's so much stuff that we still didn't even go over.
I know. I hate keeping people past an hour, especially on weekends. I'm like, I
love it.
Stuff to do, but I mean, I could talk horror movies and Ouija boards and stuff like that. And like you said, not even dive into the porn. And then when you bring into the porn, that's a whole nother thing. So it's like, that's why I love people talking with the adult industry, because I have so much in common, it seems, with with all of them, you know, outside of the business itself, you really click. And I like doing interviews with people that I actually click with, and somebody that I would legit like hang out with at a bar and have these conversations. Cause I tell people essentially that's what, to me, what podcasting is. These conversations that I have are the exact same things that I would have at a bar with somebody, except, you know, these people are a little bit more well known and well established in what they're doing.
And on top of that too, it's not the same thing that everybody's talking about. Like each podcast is always different because it just stems off so differently.
Right. And that's us too with crime and entertainment. We can talk about a lot of different things. I mean, last week, you know, I had a guy that was actually in jail for they accused him of murdering his wife. They had a documentary on him in Hulu. He spent 3 years in jail. They said he killed his wife when she was actually at stage 4 cancer and had like very little time left to live. What it was a friend of hers actually killed her and then forged her name as the beneficiary on the insurance documents. Police knew this, found it out, buried all the evidence, and that guy spent 3 years in prison and
That's
got out.
horrible.
Yeah, there's a documentary on it called The Thing About Pam, and Renee Zellweger played Pam. So it's like a 3 or 4 part series on it. It's out there. I think it's on Peacock if you got the Peacock app.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah,
No.
you can go check that out. But it's, you know, I've got that, and then I had, you know, Kennedy Rose, and then before that I had a comedian and an actor. So we just have a vast, you know,
I
really.
have an idea for the next one. A couples one after my eyes are done, because then you can ask him, because he hates when people are like, you let your girlfriend shoot porn? You let her do that? And he will fucking just
No, that is
most supportive
exactly
boyfriend ever.
that is exactly what we need to do. Matter of fact, yes, let's please do that, because I think that's always the biggest thing is like, you know, how do you do this and maintain a relationship? Because a lot of people don't have relationships because it's hard for other people, but you every now and again you get that person that is supportive with it. And, you know, does he, I mean, have y'all shot stuff together?
No, he like, so actually, like, it's crazy. I've literally dreamt about this man since I was 25 years old. So just before I turned 26, I've been dreaming about him since beginning of 2016. I haven't the first time I crossed paths with him was March of this past year. And
Really?
that's when Kennedy and I were working together in Edson on stage. And then I told, like, you know, it was just like a fucking case of deja vu. Like, that story is so intense that every time I tell people the full thing, like, they get chills. They're like, what the fuck?
Wow.
And so, anyways, long story short, after my ex broke up with me and left, he started following me, and like the same thing. It was just like this weird, intense feeling and everything. Like that's if you want that whole story, I can fucking give you the whole thing.
Oh, that would be
Like
dope,
it's
man. I would love to do that
it's
because I think that's something that not a lot of people can pull off. People don't have the personalities and, you know, the capability of pulling that off if one or the other is in that type of industry. So the fact that y'all can do that and be cool with it, and you're very open with it too. I seen one of your stories when I started following you on Instagram. You're like, you know, somebody said I shouldn't post my boyfriend. Like, why the fuck would I hide him? He's cool as shit. I love him to death. And I was like, I like that. I love that.
well, it's true because like even at work, people are like girls will pretend to be in relationships with customers, and I'm like, that's like the stupidest thing you can do, because as soon as they find out that, you know, you're not honest about that, like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. The
And
money's
then they respect you even more if you're in a relationship, because they know that you're not gonna like try to like get their fucking life insurance policy or whatever you want to call it.
like we just spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. We'll have to lock that up, man. Y'all let me know when y'all want to do that. I think that'd be a blast because I've never done anything like that before.
Okay, so yeah, after I got my eyes done on December 5th, and then I fly back to Canada on the 6th, and then I work that full week, and then I fly back to Miami on the 12th, and then if my eyes need to be touched up, we're touching them up, and then he's doing the deep tongue split, and then I fly back home on the 15th or the 16th, and then obviously I'll take a week to heal, and I go to my little one at my parents' place because they have them for the school year, so I can travel and work and everything. Um, so, but maybe before Christmas we
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
it,
Toward the end of
and
December.
then because then at least like hopefully I can talk properly and I don't have to go to like speech therapy as an adult now.
Yeah. Well, we'll stay in touch for sure. And then when it gets closer to the end of December, we'll see how you're doing. And if you're healing and everything is good and we can fit it in, we'll do it. Cause I usually have some free time around that time as well. So, but
Perfect.
absolutely, we'll book that for sure. And that's going to be really fucking cool to do that interview with both of y'all with those black eyes.
I'm excited. And then like how we'll get into that story is you can be like, so how did you guys meet each other? How long have you known each other for? And I'm like, well, actually, here's the story.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I had a fucking blast.
Thank you. So did I. I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I am Hollywood Wade. That was the beautiful Darcy Diamond. And unfortunately, we are out of time. Tune in next week for an all new episode of Crime and Entertainment. Darcy, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.